Cantina Chronicles. We are back in the cantina to discuss a truly wild season finale of the Acolyte.
So bonkers.
Wow. Right? They did, Leslie Headland did all the things in this show and in this finale. I really have to say.
We're gonna work our way through it, but I'm like,
much.
Oh my god, and that. I tried to write down the things I thought I wouldn't remember, so we'll see.
Should we memento this thing and do it in reverse?
Oh my gosh.
I'm kidding, don't worry.
That's the best way to do it, but
right?
I think there's some crazy, pivotal, incredible moments that happen just midway through the episode that are
throughout the entire thing. It was kind of that perfect season finale where they didn't leave everything until the last 5 minutes. It was crammed. Every scene was here's something new, here's something new, here's
pretty
something
nuanced structure too to show us a sort of fan favorite EU character halfway through the episode versus at the very end of the episode.
Wow, that's because they showed us a different fan favorite character, and you would have had two characters weirdly coming into frame back to back if they did it as it was originally shot. I'm assuming originally edited together.
I really like that. I like the way they did that. It took me completely unawares halfway through the episode, and I was like, oh man.
True, not expecting that at all. Except Carly's like, "Who's that?"
Yeah, we'll get to
it. Once I explained to her, she was fine. But it was just she was like, "Do I need to know?" And I'm like, "No," but I can't tell you. She's like,
I screamed it at my wife from 6 inches away from her face, standing up. Poor Jenny.
I really thought I was going to take a victory lap with the helmet at the very beginning of this episode, and I couldn't. It wasn't a helmet possession, but boy, it started like they were gonna go there, and I'm like,
oh my gosh, the helmet possession. I was like, Grant, I can't believe it, you son of a gun. There was.
Can we talk about that helmet moment when he's reaching out for the helmet and sort of what's happening there?
That was
so cool and so deftly handled in terms of going in and out of that sort of force realm.
Yeah.
Very cool.
There are things that happen to this show that I don't know I ever expected to see live action in a Star Wars. And what's fascinating about it is it wasn't in a Dave Filoni joint, right? Because I feel like Dave Filoni had the monopoly in doing things, bringing things in from their cartoon and EU, and no, they gave Leslie a few things. We'll talk about some of it, and I don't want to spoil, but we saw some stuff happening, right? The Force crystal bleeding, which we've never seen live action, and got to see what it looks like. It's happened now. It's fully canonized. It's the highest level of canon now at this point.
Yeah. So 20,000 click view of this episode. Afterwards I went, because Grant and I worked together, but the question that was plaguing me that we didn't talk about last week was what would be a satisfying ending to this series, season 8.
Yeah.
We didn't really we had our guesses. We're we thought about Vernestrah and Chimere and bigger fish theories and stuff like that. But I didn't really know what the meat would look like on the bone. And I was very pleasantly surprised. It was great. I mean, I guess could have listed things that I wanted, but the way that it was presented was really fresh to me. And it really got me going. Emotionally, I responded to everything, every lightsaber battle, all that stuff. I was like, oh, let's go. It was an exciting episode for me.
Can I make a controversial statement?
Sure.
Maybe.
Yeah. That was my experience. You may have different ones.
Yeah. No. This is good. I 100% agree with you. I 100% agree with you. I just want to add on to that because I just want to say, I almost said this to Carly and I didn't get a chance because for behind the scenes, I had 5 minutes to talk to her before I made my drink and ran upstairs to do this. But that lightsaber duel that we got, better than any lightsaber duel that we got in sequel trilogy.
Depends on your
taste. That's a harsh statement for Ben.
Yeah. It depends on your taste. They're different styles.
They're different styles, but like we actually, I don't know how to say this, and I love the sequels. As you can go back on film, like on this, like multiple things. We actually got like a lightsaber duel, in here, and we so rarely got them in the sequel trilogy, right? Like I love like the like Snoke's throne room scene is one of the best choreography fight scenes, but I don't categorize that as a lightsaber duel. Not to be pedantic about it, but it's just not.
No, it's not.
It's amazing,
It's not.
and I love it. I love it so much, but it's just not a lightsaber duel.
I mean, pretty moody lightsaber duel in Force Awakens. We don't have to like go through the whole thing, but
no.
I was going to avoid all this.
And I love the Force Awakens. It has that cry moment for me, like the bringing the lightsaber into Rey's hand. Like this is not me being like. For people who just listen first time, this is not Adam. I don't sit here and like talking about, I don't like I love the sequels, but like Leslie said, like I'm looking back to the prequels for my lightsabers, right? For my lightsaber duels, and she did that already, and then doubled down on it in this episode. Like that lightsaber duel is amazing. It felt like a prequel trilogy or sequel prequel trilogy.
She's a verified incredible director for choreography, action, set piece moments, all that sort of stuff. Like this, it's crazy how bombastic this finale feels, and throughout the series, it's weaved around tonally, right? Like it's gone into a dark sort of like crime thriller, dark side tutelage space, and then it's also weaved back into just bombastic, like breakneck Star Wars. And this finale felt like just every third act of any Star Wars film. It just felt like you get your giant duel.
There was a literal quote pulled from Return of the Jedi.
There was a quote pulled from Return of the Jedi. Big one. Right. A big one. There was a shot for shot from Empire Strikes Back, when Luke is going into the tunnel to confront Vader. Then when Osha and May are going down into that tube. She has the exact same. She has the exact same physicality as Luke going into the tunnel.
Do you know what I jumped off my couch and said aloud in that moment? Was this is going to be Plagueis' laboratory? I was like, this is a Plagueis lab we're about to see.
Oh, that'll be a great Plagueis lab.
And then it was
that's right.
No, but I mean,
season 2.
Yes, season 2. Why would you bring up Plagueis? Yeah.
Why? That's so random. I don't know why you would say that.
Yeah,
we haven't seen Plagueis all season.
Yeah, I was hoping for a Plagueis drop at some point because we didn't get any in this episode.
Not at all.
Oh man,
this is wild, guys. Like I am kind of like I'm really. It might be the first season finale since season. No, I wouldn't say season 1 of The Mandalorian. Like this might be the first season finale of a Star Wars show where I'm just kind of like
breathless.
Like kind of like just like really energetic and weird because it wasn't perfect. I'm not going to argue it's perfect, but I'm like, boy, did it do its job of like, I think it tied up season 1, and boy, does it make me want a season. Like, I just don't want to wait for season 2.
This episode feels like more setup than
it did.
Sort of conclusion.
It did. I will say, apart from the mystery box, I feel like it answered the mysteries. Yep. And lined up a whole bunch of new ones.
It did tie a bow.
Did we not think that was the case the entire season? Did we not think there was massive guilt and shame that Soul was feeling?
Yeah. Okay. So I will also say this. I don't think that the reveals were I feel like the reveals were already revealed. So I'm like Carly and I were just like, we were kind of, it's controversial. We'll talk about it. We were kind of so wedding about the virgin stuff because we're like, yeah, we know that. I know the characters need to discover that, but okay.
How incredible was the opening? The breathing in black. It's coming out of the text.
So
it's so good. I literally went, oh yeah, that's where we were. Yeah. Like I literally said it out loud because I'm like, oh, that's right. Yeah, so excited.
I was a little confused because I thought it was going to like, I thought it was going to flash back to one of. To May actually, then Soul had revealed all the stuff, but technically she knows everything already. I thought it was really cool that like we had that whole episode 8, and that was just for us as viewers. Like no one saw that. Like that's just like that happened, and this truth exists, and that was sort of it. And then we're just like off right where we left off in episode 6.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
I have a weird thought. I feel like I'm the weird thought guy tonight, or just whatever. Like I'm the derailer. I'm the derailer. Which I usually am, but like this might be the first Star Wars show that I'm actually going to rewatch pretty quickly, if not immediately. Like rewatch the season immediately. And I might do a phantom edit of this thing. I may not actually watch it episodes 1 through 8. I may actually watch episode 7 first. And then, or episodes 3 and 7 first. 3 and 7 first, and then watch 1, 2, and 4, and so on.
That's a good idea, actually.
Because I kind of, or this may be really controversial, I may cut out episodes 3 and 7 and just watch, even though they're good, and just watch 1, 2, like just to get like the current storyline. Now that I've got like the flashback,
that'd be a cool way to do it. And then if you wanted, you could watch 3 and 7 after.
Yeah,
But yeah, that'd be an interesting way to watch it, man. I'm not usually a fan of machete orders, but.
Nor am I.
But that actually would be really a fun exercise with this one. And I didn't get a chance to rewatch the whole series today like I had hoped. So there will be a rewatch in my future, my near future.
Right.
You kind of kicked us off there, Grant, with the beginning of the episode.
Oh yeah, just the helmet itself. And what do you guys think Osha is seeing inside the helmet? Like, what happened to her? I mean, we know May is hearing the story that was essentially episode 7.
Yeah.
But what happened?
I think
to
she had a force vision, right? Like she saw the future. She saw a mistrust future. That was a moment where I saw when she said, "I saw."
Oh, that's right. She
saw May. She saw May. I didn't.
May.
I kept my mouth shut because I want to ruin it for Carly. But I'm like, she saw herself kill Soul. The second I heard that, I'm like, because it's the whole series is around themselves mistaking each other for each other. So I'm like, she's totally going to force choke. That's the other thing. Can I say, are we dumb? I think we're dumb. Did any of us suggest that this whole idea of the stranger, whatever we want to call him, Darth,
Chimere.
whoever, Chimere,
the stranger,
the stranger, Chimere, Darth.
Yeah, that's what he was given.
Darth to be revealed. Darth Strangus. But his whole thing about like killing without a weapon, like, of course it's a forced joke. How did we not say that?
I was actually thinking that very early in our discussions, but I didn't think to say it because I thought something else was going on.
Yeah, I mean, there was no reason to believe either of that character would be willing to do such a thing. Like, why would they want to do it? You know.
But isn't that like the perfect test for a dark side user to be like, you have now crossed over, like you have used your anger to like I love that idea of that's how they get the acolytes, right? It's that you kill without a weapon, you kill with the force.
Yeah, I can't wait to talk about the heel turns and the change of allegiances in this episode. I know
I keep trying to rush this ahead.
Yeah. But anyway, she comes out of the helmet, says she saw May holding out a lightsaber to kill Soul
kill Soul.
Or kill someone, and then but she doesn't do it.
No,
is what she saw.
Well, she says something along like she does it without the lightsaber. She kills him.
Yeah, without
she
a
kills
lightsaber.
Without a lightsaber.
Yeah, and that's where
then Chimere says yes.
Yeah.
So you can kill someone without a lightsaber. Yeah. Okay.
So that's like prophecy fulfilled for Chimere. He gets excited, which is like, I guess he must have seen it in a vision, and that's why he's like, my acolyte will kill someone without the force. And but we're just left to sort of piece that together. There's a lot of that. I mean, I would say the overarching big reveal is that Osha and May are like the same person, like it's one person in two bodies sort of thing. And
they're
like
Jedi clones.
And I mean, if you read George R.R. Martin, he's the master of teasing out a reveal. And I think maybe we got some of these hints a long time ago here, but like she was just teasing that like idea out, and then through the episode it just gets like, she hit it a couple places, and then as you get further on, she's like, yeah, no, this is the thing that I'm showing you.
Yeah.
Right.
Is that the case? Didn't we already know this? I guess maybe we just know it. Like that's the thing is like it felt like it was revealed to the characters, but not to us that they're the same person.
Yeah, two parts of the same consciousness. I think is said.
Yeah. It's like I mean, I took it as that, but that was it was a conversation between Coral and Mother Anasea. And
and it might be,
and they were talking about
us
it like
using
way a long time ago, like episode 2, episode 4, or something, or no, it must have been episode 3.
Well, I think also in the last episode, they also kind of talked a bit more about it because it was from the perspective of the witches. I think part of it too is like I do need to rewatch episode 3 and 7 because it might be that we are we're doing the thing that is like deep lore nerd Star Wars. We're connecting the dots because we have all of the EU
at our disposal.
and like decades, but for like, normal people,
right,
this was a bit more.
Well, what's
though
cool
Carly
here is
didn't
it seems
think
like there was a virgins
either.
before Anakin, and a certain Sith, characters may have been tampering with a virgin's this initial virgins, and I think that may be worth mining for 3 or 4 seasons because the Anakin's a virgin himself, and that was mined into a galactic war and a complete shift of the timeline, and
it's
dynamics.
wild that before I say that, one moment of being a really proud husband is Carly's like, so are they a dyad? Just letting you know, by the way, Carly has seen Rise of Skywalker twice. That's it.
Yeah.
And dyad is still in her lexicon now of Star Wars lore. So it's there. And I'm like, I don't know. That's a good question. Maybe. Who knows what a dyad is?
For some reason, for me, that would be jumping the shark. It's like, and they're a dyad. It would be like, oh, okay, all right.
No,
that's
but
why
the fact that
mine that over seasons, right? Like that's
agreed. But the fact that
when someone tries to use them, much like
Palpatine
Palpatine used Rey and Kylo or Ben at that point, at some point when a similar dynamic like that occurs, I think it will be much different, and I think done in a more eloquent way because I really like just the handling of character development in this show, especially Chimera and just the dark side point of view. Like overall on this show, like I just think it's super bold and for sort of approaching dark side philosophy, dark side point of view. Like it's like we need to go to this territory at some point, and I love the First Order and I like the Knights of Ren and all that stuff, but it just didn't feel like it was really delving into the Sith lore and sort of what
it was not. It was
of the dark side. It was like just dark things and do bad deeds, and you will embrace your anger and you won't be a child anymore. It's sort of the Snoke point of view that's explored in the 2 films. Yeah. And it's great for the Kylo character. And it's just Adam Driver is just an incredible actor.
He elevates the material.
Yeah, it just totally elevates that character, right? Mm-hmm. That dynamic. But you don't really get like, I don't know, just sort of like calm
lore,
moments with
Darth,
the Sith, sort of like
Sith
what their
stuff.
Ideology is. And I feel like what Leslie Headland's doing in this show is like all of that sort of stuff. And so
Can I ask you guys a question to this point?
Yeah.
Does this scratch your dark side itch that you were hoping to have happen with this show?
I think it would have to go outside sort of the Disney 4-quadrant sort of approach to really get some of the dark side stuff I'm looking for. But again, Obi-Wan and then this show do have their moments of being pretty gritty and grimdark.
I think Grant, you and I are simpatico with this because here's the thing. Did they go where I would love for a show like this to go? No. Did they go further than I was expecting? Yes. Like that, which I'm like, I appreciate that. Like in terms of Obi-Wan, the scene where Vader just like slaughters that kid in the alleyway, that's stuck in my brain.
Yeah.
Like, it's in my brain. Like that is vicious, which is a good Vader move, right? And like so that's good. Hallway scene in Rogue One, which we can talk about the connection with the show, but like, like great. And in this, here's the thing: like, I remember we saw the trailer, and all of the Jedi are going up against this red lightsaber user, right? And we were teasing out all of the ways this could possibly not break canon. And the one thing we kept going back to is, well, they could kill them all, but they're not going to kill them all. They killed them all. So every single person in that lineup dead at the end of the series, right? So they actually went that distance.
So that's what you guys are looking for. You're looking for dark.
Jedi
you're looking for dark out of dark side people. Like you're the Sith thing that you want to see. Like we all want to see more Sith, right? So like the mark of quality is how dark it gets.
Well, like, to a certain level. Like, I'm not, yes,
or
absolutely.
Did I force that
because
out
the
of
dark
you
side is
dark side.
No, but the dark side is dark, and there's that darkness, but there's also the seduction, and I think the episode 6, right? I think you were out for Ben, right? That was the episode that Grant and I did. Yeah. Like that show, Grant and I were talking about the fact that like it was super seductive. Like there was. And I love that they're bringing that in. Like that's like it doesn't have to get like R-rated, but this idea that like the dark side is seductive.
And what's up with that handhold, that grabby handhold at the end?
I kind of love it. It feels earned.
Was that a good touch or a bad touch?
I mean, it's a good touch. It's a bad touch in a good way. A good touch in a bad way. I don't know,
just
but like
handing the saber, bro.
Yeah, that's all.
This is a family show, Grant. We're not going to talk about two-handing the saber.
I'm just being technical.
No, sorry, move on. I literally like 5 things popped in my head. Can't say that. Can't say that. Can't say
but
that.
That said, with the dark side, the exploration of the dark side, I commend the show for being bold and doing all that stuff and going there. But there are some like character choices in the show that are absolutely baffling. Like just baffling on another
character
level.
Choices.
That I don't know. I don't really know how to articulate. Maybe it's like some things feel very sudden, or some things feel like they are mirroring just to mirror, and they have to push characters to get to a place where one character is in a white uniform, one character is in a black uniform, and the yin yang is crossing, and there's sort of a lot of crisscross, like forced sort of like parallels happening. That sort of like the characters then have to race to get there, and for me, it's like I could have sat with these characters for like 3 more episodes each. Sort of padded them out a little more. But other than that, I thought the show was.
I think this might be the show where Grant and I 100% agree.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Which I like. I'm like fully on board. I love what they're doing. Like, do more of this.
Not good podcasting. We need to
I mean, no. we got Ben. We got Ben to argue against. We'll just gang up on Ben. But I just think it's interesting, like, because that's the thing. There's other shows where we've all been in different quadrants, and some of us will agree more with others. And I feel like this is the show where it united Grant and I.
You guys have the same taste in movies, and I have a developing taste in movies.
I mean,
or similar.
Do we want to talk about Tree of Life?
No, anyway, I'm not saying the same. It's not. It's a Venn diagram for sure.
Well,
with a lot of crossover.
Your Star Wars fan.
There's some. The Venn diagram. It's nearly a perfect circle with certain slivers on either side.
And I'm a little disc out to the left somewhere.
Yeah, the disc is like
crosses over on Star Wars. No, I'm just kidding. You guys have expanded my taste quite a bit. Unfortunately, I look for a lot of different things now in movies. Yeah.
Oh, we got to talk about the movie.
I couldn't even watch The Beekeeper the other day, guys, because of you.
No, I watched. See, this is where we may disagree. Where I will 100% watch The Beekeeper, and I will enjoy The Beekeeper. I will meet The Beekeeper at where it's at.
Yeah,
because that movie knows where it's at. Is it good? No. Is it ruining cinema? Probably, but it knows what it is. Anyway,
I ended up watching the Kong movie, and that was ruined for me by you guys too.
What? Wait, that was you just broke my brain.
I digress.
The Rathtar Keeper,
like the new Kong movie,
not
like Godzilla X Kong.
Yeah, not the good one. Godzilla -1.
No,
I saw
not
that
Godzilla
too.
-1.
I like that very much.
Which is
-1 is a masterpiece.
Amazing
movie.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we want to talk about the asteroid chase
Empire?
and like May tasing Soul and the chase scene there that I say is like that sort of bombastic classic Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
It is, but found a new way to do it.
Yep.
Like
going into the
ring of
the
ship
planet,
severing apart and all that stuff, Ben.
Oh, I loved it.
What's that?
I loved diving into the ring of a planet. That was so cool.
So they found a way to do like a backwoods gravel road chase in a Star Wars movie, like a Smokey and the Bear or Bandit, Smokey and the Bandit type of chase, right? Where literally like the ship skids out on a gravel road. Like we see that in Star Wars.
Yeah, that is so funny.
Yeah, it's just bashing into the debris. It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was so cool.
And I love the ship designs very, 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 very much.
Yeah.
They're like bulbous and Art Deco, kind of like the prequel.
Yeah. Like it's getting there. It's
style.
It's just not as refined yet. It's like still a little like 50s
sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
It is. Oh, good point.
We got a great
100%.
view of this time around was Chimera ship. It's like it is a cousin to the Sith infiltrator that Maul flies. Mm-hmm. Oh, and that is my favorite ship. That's when
you
my
saw the
Kentaros
Kentaros
I could own a ship,
like from below on this episode. Did you think that was another character's ship?
No,
we'll talk about
I don't remember the scene.
No,
I can't wait to talk about
let's talk about it now.
Yeah, what do we care? Go for it.
Oh no, well, just the when Vernestrah comes later in the episode.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know what the Kentaros looked like from underneath her ship.
Yeah.
Was that her ship?
Yes, it's the Kentaros.
Yeah, that was her ship. Okay. But I was with you. I was like, is that her ship? Or
I was like, is that the Jedi or is that
the Empire?
Right.
I'm not picking up what you're saying because I don't remember the scene for some reason.
Or is that another character that
we're about to get there anyways? So
after
the smoking the
rhymes
bandit,
with
sort of
Plagueis?
like hazard rubble chase,
right?
Space.
I had the same thought of just like, because like I was like, they're not just gonna have him go like head tilt out from a cave, right? They're gonna do a little more. That's what we got, which is fine.
Are we going to talk about it now?
There,
is it now the time?
Yeah, let's just talk about it. Fine. Right. Yes.
So this is the highlight of the series for me. And we talked about this literally ad nauseum. Somewhere Jonathan is like just trying to keep his breakfast down, driving into work right now, because of the 2 hours we made him listen to last week of me prattling on about Tenebris and whatever and Plagueis but
I literally saw that and I'm like, Ben's gonna be insufferable. Sorry, go ahead.
No, and I was thrilled. I saw it happening and I was like, oh my god, that's Plagueis.
yeah.
And he looked awesome, by the way. And it just like button hooked me because I didn't expect it there. It was just like
no.
I mean, and it's like in hindsight, it's kind of comical, Grant, because like you were like, that's the planet. We could connect it to Plagueis, and then he just sort of peeks out of the planet around a cortosis vein, and he's like, "Hey guys."
Can we talk about?
But I loved it.
This earlier.
Loved it.
Can we talk about execution?
Well, so that's the thing. In hindsight, I'm like, well, that's kind of funny because I was like, oh, we're gonna see him again.
It was
like
a
never
Death Eater from Harry Potter, but other than that, super accurate to sort of the EU look of Plagueis. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah.
It was awesome. The idea of a Sith Lord peeking around a corner made me laugh. Okay, full honesty, I loved it. I had to pause and I laughed for 5 minutes. I laughed for 5 straight minutes. What's that?
Is that the meme of the episode?
I think so. That might be the meme of the Star Wars.
That's going to be the only meme I ever use again.
Yeah.
It's going to be like, hey, what you doing this weekend? And I'm just like peering out from the corner.
Like creeping Sith Lord, maybe.
Hey, did you just get that email about work, Grant? And I'm just like peeking around the corner.
I will say, to be fair, there's no easy way to reveal that character. That's not like whatever.
I'm glad you laughed, but no, seriously, I had the direct intent of the show. I launched off my couch and screamed his name. I wasn't expecting it. It just was like, pop, there he is. And I'm like, I had to rewind it because I was like, did I just see, like, did I miss something? Like, why is there just a Sith Lord in his his Mojo Dojo Casa house?
I think it was in thanks. I think it was in combination of watching him peek out and then Carly goes, "Who's that?"
Yeah.
Like she loved the show, by the way, and like I was like really happy with it. Yeah. But like just that moment of utter this show was clear of everything. And Adam, can you explain to me? And I said, don't worry. And once I told her, she's like, okay, I didn't need to know. She's like, I figured it was a Sith. I'm like, that's all you need to know.
Yeah.
But like,
I mean, that's the thing. It's like
it was the Sith,
if you weren't sitting there,
tail.
For everyone else, it was like, who's that? I guess they would find out tomorrow, online.
Did you guys tell your respective loved ones the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise?
Oh my god, and not like that. I missed a golden opportunity.
I know. Now I hate myself. I've ruined one of those golden opportunities in life, right? To be like, have I ever told you
a story about Darth Plagueis the Wise? The tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise.
That literally that was the only time that could ever happen in my life.
Okay, so everyone here that's listening to this, if you haven't watched this with your best friend, significant other, whatever yet, you have to prepare yourself, memorize the speech, and don't miss that golden opportunity when they ask.
Yeah. Incredible moment.
apart from the again, I think if I rewatch it, I will not laugh at it. It was just kind of the suddenness of it. Whatever.
No, now I'm always gonna laugh at it. But like,
I will.
First time, you only have one first time, Adam.
Yeah, I kind of laughed my first time too. Anyway, so it's there, and I love it. I just part of me thinks like, okay, so we're doing reveals. Also, side note, we'll come back to this. I love how much Leslie Headland just lies. It's great. Perfect person for Star Wars. Just lies to the press. Just lies to the press.
I don't recall a lie. And she commented, someone asked her about Plagueis in last week, and she was like, I think I could draw a narrative connection between this show and Darth Plagueis. And he was like,
I'm referring to the final pop-up reveal. She clearly said Yoda is not in the show.
No, yeah, she's a lying liar,
which is awesome.
What if I said he's not? It's just an over the shoulder doesn't really count as
Yeah.
character.
It's a technicality. He's not really in the show. He doesn't have a line. We don't see his face.
I guess it depends on, from a certain point of view, she wasn't lying, to use a Star Wars.
Fair.
But also 100%, yes, lie. To protect those moments, you lie. There's no shame in that. Yeah. That's not a moral failing. Yeah. That's what you do. But I love that.
Did she give you the impression she was a fair person?
No,
the Chimera
well done. But I have a feeling, part of me has a feeling, because at the very end of the episode, prior to that, fade to black, fade up, Yoda, we get Osha and Chimera kind of on relatively same area we saw them when they left, holding hands. And there's part of me wonders if like that wasn't the moment originally when you see Plagueis.
That would be, and then they're even like cornier. That it's like
it would be,
but there's someone creeping
that's the thing.
up.
It's just like there's a bigger, but doesn't feel very Star Warsy. Of like there's a bigger boat, there's a bigger fish, there's a bigger whatever.
Well, that's what we thought it would be. I thought it would be at the end,
right?
They swooped in, and you'd be like, "Whoa, yeah."
This would be the number one question I would ask Leslie, because I'm also a process nerd. To be like, was that there? And then you got Yoda, and then you realized to have two weird major character reveals back to back doesn't quite work. So let's move it forward, which I kind of love that it worked that way, because I'm with you. Like it really, half the reason I think I laughed is because it was so out of the blue in the middle of an episode to get like.
So execution is an interesting thing to talk about. I know like everything that's happening in the show is incredible, but I do look at the execution at times, and I do think I kind of wish this fell in the tonal region of like horror, or fell in the tonal region of thriller, but it's coming out as sort of classic Star Warsian, bombast serial adventure, which is fine, and that happens at times. But for the Plagueis reveal, it's almost like I would have loved a banking clan scene with like Hiddo Damask, like when he's like when he's like, and like more of a fiscal issue than this like kind of random like external review of the Jedi. Like I almost wish like you kind of start baking in Plagueis stuff.
Well, can I agree with you? And the thing that just popped in my head, 100%. But like, is that what they're threading in for season 2? Now that we have the Senate involved, like, is now that we have like, because
but does that kind of a person creep in a cave?
Dennis
or does that kind of
person
like meet people at tables and talk?
He does
it was
both.
Weird.
Hopefully,
both.
Hopefully,
hanging out on
but the side of the coin we saw was creeping in
a cave. That's awesome. Which is like, maybe they're going to start doing some of that Plagueis stuff in season 2, right? This idea of like seeing him more in the world, and having realizing that what's his name, the senator
Senator Rancourt.
Rancourt. Oh, that's a great Star Wars name, because that guy's clearly bad. Rancourt. It's like Rancor.
It's almost like Rancor, but I think there's a T at the end. Rancor.
Yeah, exactly.
With a T.
So yeah, I wonder if we can trust him. I wonder if he has good intentions.
Not with that T.
So like, but I love the idea of like, maybe next season we see that he's unknowingly in the pocket of Darth Plagueis.
Sure, yeah, that because he's wearing a lot of gold, right?
Yeah, it's almost a Crimson Dawn emblem on his too. Which I'm like, that's hat on a hat.
Yeah, he's got beautiful raiments, and he's just beautifully adorned.
But they did a good job with like, I buy his point of view. I don't agree with it, but it's a clearly stated point of view.
I didn't do any research, but they also mentioned the Chancellor Dreg, I believe. Yeah, and I'm gonna have to Wikipedia that name to see if that actually was in
This is an instant reaction pod, though.
Yeah. We don't. We'll get that later.
Yeah, I mean, like literally, the Wikipedia page for this episode is being updated as we talk. I just refreshed it. I'm like, more things have been added.
Adam just finished.
Yeah.
Update.
Yeah. I only do that if Therm's Scissor Punch happens to appear in something and doesn't get credit. That's the only time I edit Wikipedia.
Because you're like, oh, and don't forget about Therm's Scissor Punch.
He must be known and appreciated.
Yes.
So then was that when we cut back to Soul telling May that like Osha and May are the same person?
Well, he tries once, and then she's.
Oh, and then he gets tased, and then he's like,
and then So now we're on what's it called now? Brandock.
Oh, we're waiting. So they're crashed on Brandock.
Yeah, so we're
go
here.
back to the stronghold of the witches.
Right.
I gotta back us up just a bit for a second. I'm sorry, because this is the moment where Carly and I were like, what's up with Basil?
Basil.
So,
all right.
Yeah,
so he
sabotages the ship.
Right. He's another vehicle to tease out that they're the same person. He sabotages the ship because he thinks that's Osha because they smell the same. That's how closely genetically identical they are.
Huh.
Right?
But he's sabotaging the ship
because he thinks that the Jedi went bad was going to kill Osha?
Yeah.
Okay. And that makes as much sense as anything else.
I mean, maybe he was just... he's either
but I like it.
A virtuous person, and he's a moral person, and he's like, I don't want anyone to be killed. Or it's because... I thought it was because he smelled the same person.
I like that.
Because he never really acted against Osha, and I think... I mean, he gave like a bunch of gesticulations, but I don't speak whatever species that is.
Yeah, and there's no...
And not even hand gestures I get, so I don't know. But it was like intentionally vague, and he never really attacked the person. And so I'm choosing to think that he thought it was Osha and wanted to save her.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way you can think about it, because other than that, it kind of just doesn't make sense.
Or he's a double.
So I think your explanation.
Or he's a double agent. But I think Ben, I think your makes more sense. Yeah. Drellick, this is his first appearance and only appearance. Chancellor Drellick. No backstory on him.
Okay. We'll see if it changes
and by the way,
tomorrow. But yeah, I guess it's not.
I will see, but they have a new page for him, and it's not connected to anything else. And the wild thing about this is that this is considered, it says Darth Plagueis' first appearance.
Oh, well, I guess first appearance.
Yeah, because he's been mentioned.
Yeah.
He's canonized.
Yeah.
He's been mentioned. But this is literally, and none of the comics, nothing else. This is his first visual appearance in new canon.
Technically, so I my heart sings for the Lucino novel that we reviewed like 10 episodes ago, I think, or 20. But
it was before this,
and
like it was still in preparation for this.
It still could exist technically. I mean, I don't know. Plagueis looked pretty beat up. It was like the way you'd want to see Plagueis, but I mean, he could still have Tenebris as a master. He could still be the apprentice set on this mission. I mean, honestly, it could just sort of dovetail right into that novel, and like, I don't know, but like
totally could.
But like, we're overlapping now, so it's like, I don't know. Headland's not going to remake the Lucino novel, but pretty much any nod to that novel would make me really happy that they did.
Which would not seem out of the realm of something she would do. Yeah. She loves the old EU. She loves it. I also feel like, I mean, we'll talk about this maybe later on, but like, I don't think Chimere is a Sith or Sith apprentice, to be honest.
Yeah. He's just like a rogue Jedi that had a bad day.
Essentially.
He might be. There are plenty of what we've seen in past novels is like this. I mean, Asajj Ventress, for example, she's not anything. Right. She's a dark side user, but she's not a Sith, right? Like she's not a Sith or a Sith apprentice. So that's where I'm slotting in Chimere. Is this idea of like is that he's kind of the errand boy for this, and he's recruiting.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, and also when he sort of walks into the pool of water and walks out, he puts on white robes. He's not like totally a darksider, you know.
I thought that was a little bit of kabuki theater to try and convince her that he's like this great guy, and it was like, oh no, but I'm so wise and I am virtuous, and the dark side's just like another white meat or something,
Well, he is revealed to be a fallen Jedi, essentially.
Right.
I believe.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, essentially he's a fallen Jedi character who is now possibly Plagueis' apprentice, but
okay.
At the same time, why is Plagueis creeping? Like, what's the mask all about? Did Plagueis show Chimera how to wear this mask to hide from Vernestrah?
They could definitely play it that way. I didn't think that at all. My take was just like, Plagueis is onto him and is now like just taking notes on the planet and him, because that dovetails with the Lucino novel. So that's like, that was my own headcanon, but what you're saying makes perfect sense. Like they could be in the league together already.
A few episodes back, we did talk about the twins possibly being an experiment, right? Like the Lucino novel talks about all these experiments that Tenebris and Plagueis sort of, worked on in their labs, their respective sort of like dark side, hideouts. And it's like,
their fingers in a lot of pies.
These twins are being created by Plagueis, possibly. Is this going to be a dyad that he then maybe uses to save himself and the ones he loved from dying?
Yeah.
Yes. Like I just think that that's where this is going in a lot of ways, where it's like, you want those insurance policies, especially as a banker, banking, just someone who's has this alternate ego that's sort of trying to like push funds around the galaxy and change things politically. Like you also want these insurance policies for like extending life, right? So like creating these dyads, or creating sort of like these.
Can
twins,
we talk
right?
more about the dyad for a second?
Sure.
I mean, because like, I wonder if like it's more of a dark side like legend that like dyad and the light side doesn't think about it at all. But there's a line in The Rise of Skywalker from Palpatine who says there hasn't been a dyad in X years, and I can't remember, but I thought he was like 400 years or something, or maybe he just said 800 years, because it would make sense if his master knew about a dyad, he would teach his apprentice, and his apprentice would recognize the dyad if that's what Osha and May are.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Sure. There hasn't been a dyad in centuries, which would fall
not really centuries. It's
like 200 years, 150 years,
150
right?
years. It's a sesquicentennial of the dyad.
Yeah,
but I guess centuries. You could be like, okay.
Well, that's why I'm not certain they're a dyad. I think they're an attempt at making a dyad, possibly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a dark side experiment or something.
I like that.
Maybe generations, I think is the term. I'm trying to find the actual. Because generations, then you are clear. You're clear in generations, because there have been generations.
Still tough, though. Yeah, I guess because it's. Well, I guess if Palpatine's making that comment, it's because he knew, all the knowledge from Plagueis, and therefore Plagueis sort of had a dyad that he knew at some point, whatever.
Yeah, but I mean, this could be it, or not, or maybe this is just. I mean, one thing I love about Sidious is he's a collector, and he collected knowledge, and had many libraries stashed away all over the place, and imagine all that wealth of knowledge and how awesome all of those facts are. I bet they're pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, so the comment still works. If they want to do if they're going to do the whole dyad thing over a couple seasons, that's kind of interesting. But because I think that needs to get fleshed out more than what they did in Rise of Skywalker. Like, to me, there's a lot to do there. You could really do some fun stuff, because it's like having an Anakin in two people. It's like it feels very fun, and a lot could happen. It could tip the scales, like Vernestrah is saying, right? Like I didn't feel like the scales were tipped this episode, and that was something that was set up throughout the season itself.
True, set off, but
right?
Never paid
and so
off.
It that seems like an initiative for the second season, and possibly a third, to sort of like talk about the scales tipping. And obviously after this external review, I can imagine the Jedi sort of dressing down a little bit and wearing brown robes, because even though you see Vernestrah in like the most sort of like richly adorned attire at the end of the episode, I have to imagine that's a send off to those ways, because the Senate are like, how much you've been keeping secret from us?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Do you guys remember from episode 1, we actually met Senator Rancourt in a holo image?
No.
Yeah.
Was that?
Yes.
Or it might not
That
be
sounds
1.
vague.
It might
No,
be 4 or something.
But you're right. I remember that she was talking to someone, a senator.
Yeah,
So
that was him.
That
was he.
Which I didn't recognize him in hollow form because he's in a lot of stuff. He was in Dennis Haysbert, I think is the actor's name. Is Dennis Haysbert? He was in
David Harwood, I think.
David Harwood, thank you, David Harwood. He was in Supergirl, the series Supergirl. He played Martian Manhunter. It was really good in that. But yeah, so a familiar face, but he actually got to use his British accent for a change, which was nice.
Excellent accent.
Yeah, it's so good.
Star
But
Wars accent.
It's also one of those things I'm like, you didn't pull this actor in for like 5 seconds in this season finale. Like, this is going to be a big character in season 2, and I like this idea that
Mr. Scrutiny of the Jedi, which is very fun, I guess, to play with. I love his line when you're looking up to heroes, you don't have to face what's in front of you.
Yeah,
that was just a brilliant line. I really liked all of his dialogue.
Yeah,
and so in Vernestrah, at the end of the day, like continues the conspiracy, but at the very least, and we can talk about the conspiracy a little more, but like she at the very least admits that like she was aware of this, they knew about it, they hid it, right? Like she admits that to the Senate, is like they hid the fact that this mission went wrong. Like that's enough for them to let that out to public. It's going to tarnish the view of the Jedi, at least somewhat, which makes sense with the brown robes of like, oh, I could see this, like, if they do it really deftly, this idea of like, they think they're so high and mighty, they wear golden robes, like they look like elitists.
It might take them down
a right?
Yeah.
Like,
but she's playing judge, jury, and undertaker in this episode, where she's just like, you know what, Soul dead, burn him, set him off.
Use him in a conspiracy to cleanse the Jedi.
Yeah.
I love Vernestrah. Yeah. That might be the least Jedi move I've seen by a Jedi.
You haven't seen how she lost her last Padawan.
That's very true. We know she whipped him, though.
Yeah, I mean, how did you guys feel about Vernestrah spelling out really like the moral, like she had like a monologue that was a eulogy for Soul. How did you feel about that? Like, it was like he was a very good man, but he had a very bad day.
I thought that was I thought Vernestrah was awesome throughout this entire episode. Yeah. But that monologue was actually the only part where I just kind of, I did think that needed to get punched up. Like, he's just one flawed man. It was sort of like a big through line of that monologue. And
I mean, it's kind of the whole show.
I just didn't like how he was the crutch for like all of the failing that happened. I just don't think.
But that's a lie.
And his decision to stab their mom in that split second moment and all that sort of stuff is like, I think he thought he was in danger, and Tormund was in danger. Tormund had already been possessed at that point. Like, so there's a lot going on that's almost like.
Well, my reading.
I really don't know what the show's trying to say with all
that. My reading this, and this is why we see her whisper to Soul, and then they cut back and finally tell you, which is, I'm sorry, right? She apologizes to him. And what she's apologizing to him for is she knows the entire story. She knows everything that happened. She knows it's not all Soul. She knows that she has to hide the fact that it's her. There's a dark side. There's possibly here. The whole thing is that she continued the conspiracy. She set up Soul. Like that. That's my reading of this whole thing, is that she just said, like, she put all of the blame on Soul to cleanse the Jedi.
Yeah.
And that was her apology to him. It's like, I'm sorry, I'm tarnishing your reputation. You made one mistake that any of us could have made.
Yeah.
But now everything that led from that, I have to put it all on you so that the Jedi are clean, so we can figure out the dark side.
Yeah.
That's my reading of this whole thing.
Yeah.
That's the correct read, because that's essentially what she does at the end in the external review. Is she goes, "This was one flawed man, not an entire organization."
But it is an entire floor.
But it is. But yeah, Vernestra's hiding a lot more, right? The whole Chimera thing. Like, there's just Vernestrah may have just become the most important character in Star Wars after this show.
Yeah, in this era for sure. Yeah, or I guess in any, because she not allows, but she's somewhat integral in the Sith's continuation.
Yeah,
not necessarily a bad way, but she's center to it now.
Yeah.
She's so close to the Sith.
And
she's so close.
She's clearly flawed. I mean, one of the other underlying themes here was that Osha couldn't reach her potential because she was fighting a lie she didn't know she was living.
Right.
And I mean, I don't know. It's like a really interesting idea, like that. I don't know. Interesting is I'm using because I can't describe it properly. Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like she.
Yeah.
I don't know. She that whole thing where her turning. I don't know.
Yeah, so we get the awesome fight between Sol and Chimera in the Witch's Fortress, but I think we really want to talk about the moments after that, which is sort of after even the May Osha confrontation. Which I don't know if you guys have any quotes from either of those initial sort of dialogue exchanges, but I don't. Having just watched the episode, but they were really brilliant moments. But after that, we get the whole May telling Osha about Sol killing their mother, and then the Osha sort of heel turn and the sort of her embrace of the dark side in that moment. Like to me, that felt like I almost wish there was more anger earlier in the episode because she was such a just character that you really had no hints about that side. Really,
that I mean, Jenny called it. She was like, "Oh yeah," she's like, "So are they gonna like switch? Because is that why the significance of the black and white outfits and all that?" And I was like, "No.
Right.
I was convinced halfway through the episode that May was the embodiment of the dark side and Osha was the embodiment of the light." Like,
well, you didn't do that episode. You didn't do the episode. 6 with us?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, where we were like, well, now we want the Chimera Osha show, essentially.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what we did.
Yeah.
I think episode...
But I didn't agree with it.
Yeah,
I remember you saying it, but I'm like...
Well,
I thought they were teasing...
You were wrong.
I was definitely wrong.
No,
but I'm explaining why, because they just like...
Yeah.
They're the same person, right? And I was like... I'm like, no. Like, okay, when Osha rejected the offer to be the apprentice out of hand... I was like, no, she's pure light. Like that's what they're going to tell us is like we knew who they were the whole time.
Because that's how it's planted, right? It's planted that she's pure.
Yeah.
So yeah. After episode 6, I didn't buy. Episode 6, I think did such a good job of showing her so tempted by the dark, and when she straight out refuses Chimera in this episode, and he's just like, oh, your sister did the opposite, right?
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. Her sister has had multiple times to kill Sol and didn't. Like, there was another moment where she didn't, right? Where I'm like, oh, she's going to do the opposite of what her sister does. She's going to kill Sol. Like, there's like multiple like things in this moment where I'm like, oh, they're totally lining up that they have switched. And
it's the prime Jedi or yin yang.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
Symbol, right? It's like a little bit of light in the giant dark, swatch, and then a little bit of dark in the giant white swatch. And it's just doing that narratively in a beautiful way.
And we see a little bit. I mean, like it's not like Osha does this and then becomes like Anakin or Darth Vader, right? Where he's just like finger tenting, and I'm going to go slaughter like younglings now. Suddenly, like
but
like
she kind of have some of that energy though. She was like,
but she got to that tree and started bawling, right? Like this moment of just like she's not. Yeah, she started crying.
Yeah, right. So then she essentially what happens then is she force chokes Sol, which is the whole show had been building towards this. How do you kill a Jedi unarmed? And Ben, I'm totally with you on the read that Chimera possibly had a vision of either May or Osha doing this, right? Maybe he initially thought it was May, and then throughout this story he realizes
that's why he was
Osha. That's the dark side half of this.
So insisted on this weird ritual that we've never heard of before. Right? Yeah,
sure.
Sorry, but keep going. I cut you off.
They kind of hide the force choke for a minute there.
They do.
You're meant to get cutaways of each character and think who's doing it. Osha sort of raises her hand. It was obvious. It was obvious there.
No, that's what they're going for. No, it wasn't. It was obvious to me because it was confirming my theory, right? Like it was confirmation bias. That's why that scene didn't work for me, right? If that thought wasn't planted in my brain, I would have been like, it would have been really. I definitely shot. I really liked that. For me, it was just like. No suspense. It's Osha. Yeah. Now, granted, I do that all the time, and I was wrong because I started at the beginning of this episode going, "That's clearly a helmet possession." It wasn't. Like so, like those things work out the way they do.
See, I didn't know you could force choke, with your fingers aimed towards the ground. I didn't know that would work. I always thought you have to kind of lunge forward, reach out, and sort of
grab their
just
windpipe
constrict with all your might on your fingers. Yeah, I don't know.
I guess there's different techniques.
They did two things with Osha's dark side journey, which I really appreciate in this episode. And the first is that like, anger is an emotion that is, how am I trying to say this? It's quick to build and hard to quell, right? Meaning that like her first force choke seems like an immediate reaction in anger, right? Like if you know, it's easy to lash out with anger. And I think that's what happened, right? Like, I don't think it was this like grandiose, I'm going to kill them. Like, you know, it just started and became easier and easier, and the anger built and built and built. And then her agreement to go with Chimera at the very end is predicated on, but you have to save my sister, right? I will go with you if you save my sister.
Yeah.
So again, the path to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
Yeah.
This is the way. Like, this is not her being like, yes, I want to go with you and learn the ways of the Force. This is not a Luke Skywalker moment of just being completely seduced by the dark side. It's that she doesn't see another option. She wants to save her sister, who she feels guilty about not believing this entire time, right? And that's why. And she will go down the dark path, I assume.
Right.
But like, I love that. That's not this clear and easy like, oh, it's Anakin to a certain extent. I'm doing this to save my wife. I'm doing this to save my sister.
Yeah. Very.
Anyway,
Right.
yeah.
Force choke's also like a high level force ability, you know.
Yep.
It's like once you reach like level 20 or at level 20, 22, you unlock force choke.
Yeah.
So once you realize you can do that, it's pretty much like, I should just continue on this path. I'm pretty high level dark side.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we saw her at the beginning
Force
of the series
unleashed.
not being able to force grab whatever she was doing, right? When she was arrested. Right? So she didn't have that force ability, and then she finds that through the dark side she has more power, right? Which is seductive.
Yeah, and she has to I mean, it's something sort of unlocked the Force in her. I think it was learning the truth.
Yes, yeah.
I kind of wanted more out of that moment though. Like the force choke just felt very just, I don't know, sort of just wrathful and rage filled, and I'm sure great, like I love it, but throughout the entire season, we have been talking about this relationship. This relationship is huge, and I never felt it, which is a little sad.
I'm kind of there with you for sure. I do think Souls, It's Okay, is doing a lot of heavy lifting, right? Because he says, as he's being force choked, it's okay, which I thought was really powerful, but again, I think that was doing a lot of heavy lifting.
Well,
that wasn't present before that. Yeah,
I mean, he tried to croak out "I love you" before he was force choked, you know. And I mean, you could see like the way he hugged May, thinking it was Osha, and it was just like he loved her like a daughter, and then had so many regrets around that relationship too.
Yeah,
but yeah, I mean, that didn't sneak up on me. I don't know.
Oh, just for me, I maybe just a little bit more violent reactions,
right,
from both of them, and sort of like, this is so sad that this is ending like this. I don't know. It felt like the music was playing up. It was very like a third act Star Wars moment versus almost like, these characters actually, like, did they have a history, and was there love there, and is that love ending? Like, I almost, it's just something I wish was kind of in there.
Yeah, my reading of it is that Soul's love of Osha is predicated on acts of guilt. Like you see him when he goes in there. He sees the like the leftover dust of Osha's mother. Then he just happens to wander down to the moment he let her sister presumably die. And so I feel like he starts to see that, like, do I love her, or do I feel a sense of guilt and obligation that leads to love? And then is there a sense of relief?
Right.
Like, it almost feels like a weight off his shoulders at the end when he's being force choked, of like, I am paying my penance. Like, it feels really dark, but I feel like he's just like, this is what I deserve as he's dying.
Yeah, I mean, we know about all his compatriots felt a serious amount of guilt.
Yeah.
Except for really Inara, who was trying to stop the whole thing. But yeah, I mean, the other, and like maybe it just finally the cut started to hurt. To quote the bear.
Yeah.
I think Soul's whole thing was actually perfect. I almost think it was the Osha character that I wish there was a little bit more like, you were like a father to me for a number of years.
Yeah.
I'm broken now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is, instead it's like, I want revenge right this second for what you did.
There's a fine line between love and hate, and as Jan Carlson taught us. But I mean, I think that was actually one of the most true things that guy said in a million truths. But I think it's really true, man. And they used the like miscommunication convention a little bit. It's like he didn't lead with I thought I was saving your life. He was like, oh yeah, and also like I knew you were never going to be a Jedi. Like they'd never let that happen. I just felt guilty about it, so I took you in. And like. Yeah, and like that's not, you shouldn't have led with that, Soul. So like he froze up, he made some bad decisions, he said the wrong things, and I think I felt what she felt in that moment, like absolute betrayal. Like you've lied to me my whole life, and I loved you, and how could you do this to me? And like I can buy into it. I could buy into like how.
No,
I'm sorry.
Great.
I feel like I'm being argumentative.
Let's move past that moment, honestly, because it's totally fine.
Yeah, I'm sorry. If I'm being argumentative, I'm not trying to be. I'm just trying to see
that's what we do.
But then we get the saber bleeding, which is
awesome.
Like it's so cool because, again, this sort of like the change of heart is illustrated in so many different ways in this episode, and this is but one, and it's genius.
Yeah. It's so good. I just loved how you could see the kyber crystal
down the chamber,
like, through the chamber, through the top of the lightsaber. I haven't seen that shot. That was a great, like, how have we not done this in 9 movies?
Right?
Like, it's amazing. Yeah.
I mean, kudos for that. And I mean, I'm on the like lightsaber dork subreddit. And I mean, the gentlemen are rejoicing. Like the real like cool sabers have the kyber crystal that has a little latch you can undo and show the kyber crystal in the thing. So like they're loving life right now.
It's so cool.
Super.
I thought of you in that moment.
Yeah. And it even like looked like, actually, I think it probably was like a NeoPixel saber that was like, when it was half red, half blue, I was like, oh, please don't stay like that, because like everyone's heads will explode on
this show gets a 10 out of 10 no notes for all the insert shots of saber hilts.
Yes.
Like this show is not afraid to just like throw in a cutaway to a saber hitting the ground or something. I'm just like, thank you, Leslie Edlund, for sort of like, constantly keeping these MacGuffins and these items in frame.
Yeah.
I'd love to know where they are.
I can't wait to see more close-ups of the designs, because they're very unique. They're like a very stylized, and they're very kind of brutalist. But I saw a close-up of Chimere's saber, and it's gorgeous. Like it's almost like it's wrapped under the metal, like it's like leather wrapped, and then there's like this metal, but it's like this very like classic brutalist design, and it's just beautiful in its simplicity. And
so I've had a book pre-ordered through Amazon for I think a year and a half now, which are the lightsabers of the High Republic.
Yes,
right. Have you had that one? It keeps getting pushed back.
Yeah.
And part of me is like, is it getting pushed back because they're deciding to add in the lightsabers from this show? That's my hope, is that we're gonna get a lightsaber like a Chimera lightsaber and like a Soul lightsaber and Kalnaka and all those. I'm hoping that's why, as opposed to just general.
Yeah.
It was crazy to see the blade sort of like turn red.
Yeah.
That was wild.
Yeah, and it was like she couldn't stop it. She was like, "Oh no, like what have I done?" And it was like but it was already too corrupted, but she was getting madder and like
And it felt like violent. Like it felt like you could see the red like choking out or killing the blue. Like it felt really like I don't know, visceral. Like I really enjoyed that imagery of just like the blue didn't want to go.
Yeah.
Right? Like this idea of like it felt like the living force. Like we heard about this idea of like bleeding a lightsaber. It's felt as about as visually as good as you can do that visually. Yeah.
That was fun.
Yeah, very cool. I think then we get the moment where Chimere's helmet is off and Vernestrah's consents him.
Yeah.
So cool. Very cool that he's like, the helmet's off just for a moment, and Vernestrah's like, "You're alive."
Yeah. So I guess maybe we weren't supposed to know that. Maybe, but again, that could be that sort of Martin-esque, like, oh, I dropped, like you see the flippy flappy, exactly like you said, Adam. You're like, that is the episode where Vernestrah kills the bug, and then we see like we cut to the back scar.
No, that was Grant. Grant blew my mind.
Well,
with that.
Grant
Grant
figured
who
it out, right.
made the connection. No, I Did not make
Oh,
that
that's
at all.
right. It was Grant. You're right. You're like, this is the whole episode is that lightsaber flick.
The second Grant mentioned that you saw like the scars on her back, and it looks like on his back it looks like a whip. I'm like, oh yeah, totally. It's his. And I think Grant, you made the connection. I'm like, yep, 100%.
Yeah, I did think there was going to be a big Vernestrah like third act fight
I did too.
Like, this finale. Where you kind of get to see the whip go crazy. Like I really just want to see that. And if I have to wait for a season 2, so be it. I need to see this whip in action.
Oh, I was hoping for 2 more fights. I was hoping for Vernestrah to fight with Chimere, and then Plagueis like kill who was ever left over.
Yeah, I it's so funny because once I don't remember what happened. I looked at Carly. I'm like, there's gotta be a season 2, right? Because
it's
like there's no. 2. But I'm like it was like maybe like halfway through the episode because I'm like, there's no way. They've now introduced like Plagueis. These other things have happened. You cannot wrap this up in 20 minutes. And if you try, I'm gonna be angry. So I'm like, this is clearly a season 2. Like this. It has to be. Like, you can't do this and be like, oh, no, more seasons.
Yeah, because it's set up so well for a second season. Like, listen, this was a fun journey and it was great, but we did a lot of character development and timing development. And now you're like, whoa, like, does Vernestrah lie to Yoda? Where does Chimere take Osha next? Like, when is Plagueis going to interfere?
What's the weird guy in the cave doing? Yeah, right. It's. But the thing is about why I appreciate this is it does a thing where it sets up season 2 to be uniquely different than season 1. Right. Which I always appreciate. I'm like, you've done something, you've set it up in a way that season 2 will not feel the same as season 1. You have a different focus.
Right. How will the Senate's investigation change the Jedi? Right. That's another big one.
And they introduce a larger world, right? Like the whole idea. I mean, the Senate has been teased throughout the season, but this last episode is like, oh no, we are going to spend a lot more time in the politics of the Jedi in season 2,
which I'm here for.
Same.
Yeah, but we're also promised to have sort of the Acolyte as a title and concept continue as well with the Osha character, right? She's the Acolyte of now the dark side, and possibly both Chimere and Darth Plagueis. How dark is this going to get? Where is Osha going to go? What are her motivations? Is she interested in combating Jedi in the future? Like, so
maybe,
right. So but essentially that's the promise almost, right? Is that Osha may then confront Jedi again in the future with her newly christened red lightsaber.
Yeah,
I hope that, and this is like, maybe somewhat controversial because like I've been watching The Bear recently. I know I'm so of the time. I totally am
to
with
stay
it
with the zeitgeist. It's a great show though.
It is amazing, and Carly and I stop it every like 10 minutes to explain to each other why it's amazing, and it's the same that we say the same thing to each other every single time why it's amazing. But part of it's like
even
it's the anti-breaking.
Bacharach.
Yes, 100%. But granted, I cannot wait for him as the thing. But like, it is the anti-Breaking Bad. It's the anti-Sopranos. Everyone has a kind center to their being in that show, even if they're dysfunctional people.
Yeah. They can shout at each other, and then they're out back.
Yes, but it's like
chatting it up.
Yeah, exactly. It's amazing. So with that being said, which is kind of I think what the world needs right now with everything we've gone through is like kind of this idea of this, hey, everything's be stressful, whatever, but people are genuinely good people. I want her to have a really dark descent into evil. I'm kind of looking for this. Like I don't want a redemption arc for Osha. Like we need a big bad Sith woman. Like that's what we need.
I agree.
Me too. Yeah, and that's why I think it scratched the itch because it did set it up so well for the adventures of Chimere and Osha, and they're on their own path right now, and they have their history with the Jedi. Vernestrah's coming for them with May, which doesn't make any sense, but sure. Somehow she's gonna tease out
the reversal.
And then you've got to deal with that interaction again. It's like. Another brainwashed sister trying to figure it out. But that, and then there's then you've got Plagueis looming, the bigger fish. That's just going to be fun.
Right. And then I think we're there now, obviously, because Osha goes off with Chimere at the end of this.
Yep.
And then May is taken in by the Jedi, and Vernestrah explains, tells her about her memories of who she is because Chimere wiped her mind, which was crazy. That was like a pretty interesting ability just to throw in there.
Yeah, that was
But
bonkers.
then the big reveal at the end, Yoda. So like, and then Vernestrah comes in there to say, like, I need to tell you something, Master.
You gonna lie to Yoda?
Yoda now involved in season 2? And does Yoda know about the Sith essentially? While Ki-Adi-Mundi's saying they haven't been around for a millennia. You know what I mean? Is there a secret knowledge that Vernestrah and the Grand Master, of the High Council sort of know, but others don't? Is that that kind of what's going to be illustrated?
Maybe I don't mind that. Like,
yeah, it's fine.
It depends how they do it, right? It's all in the execution, as we're talking about. Like, I think there's a way you could do that where it makes sense that they're keeping the secret. Is that it's too big, especially if they're in a moment where the Jedi are so despised by the public, right? Seen as elitist, seen as in their ivory towers or whatever. Again, as a person who is an elitist and in his ivory tower,
He is great.
But if you have that moment,
Vernestrah Row is elite.
Yeah, if you have that moment painted, you can see why like they're both like, this is not the time to reveal that we do not have a handle on what's going on with the Force, right? Like I could see them doing that. It's all in the execution.
I think she tells the truth, man. She's too old.
Yeah,
he's too wise. Like she's not gonna try and bluff Yoda.
I mean, the thing everyone gets wrong about Yoda is even though he took some L's and made some mistakes, he was obsessed with one core concept, which is balance.
Yeah.
And I think he understood more than any other Jedi and any other Force wielder that the Force is essentially a balance beam, right? It's
that's interesting.
At all times.
Yeah.
And it's going to shift back and forth and oscillate, but nonetheless, it will always eternally be balance, right? That the Force is trying to equalize, right? And I think I don't think Yoda's given enough credit for his outlook.
Well, you could do that, right? That he's just kind of out there knowing that there are dark side users. There is the Sith always there, the Sith Eternal. They're always there. And our job is not to eradicate them, but to keep them in check, right? Yeah. To do that. Shield. And so when we see him later in the prequels and it's clouded, right? The Force is clouded. This is the first time he hasn't been able to understand the movements of the Sith. And that's why he's so unsettled during that time, right? Because he doesn't know. He can't see the board. He can't see the chessboard, and that's what's making him freaking out.
Yeah, I think if they do a season 2, which now I need to have, they could really sort of flesh out what's going through Yoda's mind during the prequels, and why he was sort of that sort of analysis paralysis that the Jedi were going through when all of this was going on, and Dooku's telling Obi-Wan that the Sith Lord is the Chancellor.
Yeah. Can I just say now, there will be a season 2 for multiple reasons. 1, this thing is a critical hit. 2, it seems to be a viewer hit. Viewers seem to be tuning in for it. And 3, what the review bombers do not realize is that the more they scream and they whine and they do this stuff online, the more likely it is they're going to give it a season 2, because who wants to give into that, right? Yeah. Like you don't want to look like they won. So I feel like
Lucasfilm's definitely a company that's like, I'm sorry, is it too woke for you? Here's more.
we will 100% lose another $100 million just to shut you the F up.
Yeah, just to let you know Hope wins.
Yeah. So I have a feeling like we are getting season 2. Even if it was not critically lauded and it was not a hit, I feel like they still would be like, yeah, we're giving you season 2. Suck it.
Yeah, I don't know.
The finale sets up a season 2. Yeah. I mean, as if this is a giant organization. And
they knew.
You have to think that for the ending to be the way it is, it's built for a continuation into a season 2.
I'm guessing as they were shooting, they had 2 scripts to the end of the season, which was a nice script that tied the bow and let them just say this could be a one and done. Or the script that we got, which leaves it very much open for a season 2. And they probably liked very much what they were seeing as it was in production and said, yep, shoot the second script.
Yeah. Kathleen seems to know before it's out what, she's got her finger on the pulse of that whole thing. But I feel like she knows whether it's going to be extended then or, as much as she has power to extend something.
I think Leslie Helen has a lot to say too, right? Like, I don't think...
Yeah.
We got everything in this season. I think that there's a lot more. Like, all I want to hear is more dark side sort of philosophy from, and she's brilliantly gone into interviews and been like, I actually think the Sith are right, and I love this point of view, and I think it's so interesting. And to me, it's like, that is so compelling that we have a creator who's, really, really looking at the Sith in a sort of partial way, where they want to explore, the philosophy.
Yeah.
And it's so cool.
One of my favorite lines from this was actually from Senator Rancourt. He was like, he's like, you're, so arrogant, you think you control it. And she's like, what, the Force? We don't control the Force. And he's like, no, your emotions.
Oh, emotions.
And and went on to say, it's just like, it just takes one of you. You're all human beings to like lose it once, and it's all going to unravel. And he's right. It's just sort of like, it's a facade. It's a fake ideal, and sooner or later, one of you are just going to be human beings and do something wrong. And
we just had to wait 100 years for Anakin to lose his mind, right?
Yeah.
But like, I love that moment. Like, I love that he was right, even if it was 100 years later, and not like he was right, we should abolish the Jedi, but like, just like, there's truth in what. That's what I love about the show, is like, there's truth in what he's saying. Like, there's a lot of truth in what he's saying. Not that we should get rid of the Jedi, but like, he's not wrong. Like, I really like that. And I think Leslie clearly has a good handle on the dark side, has a good handle on all this, but doesn't just then paint the Jedi as inept and bad and corrupt, right? Like, there's like, I think she does a good job of just being like, there's a core of good within the Jedi that we always have to focus on.
And that's a really delicate line to tread. And I give her a lot of credit for doing that. I mean, do you feel like she accomplished that, Grant? And it's okay.
I think the Jedi were just brilliantly sort of portrayed in the show on so many different dimensions, especially like the Soul Chimere fight. You really got to see where passion, desire, and all these emotions that live under the surface the Chimere's talking about, go to town when he's fighting Soul. And then you got to see the Jedi sort of combat prowess. Yeah. And I would say the Jedi are just superior in combat. They're just superior in logic a lot of the times. And they're just utilitarian, which is great. And they're sort of shown as what they are. But obviously, there is the issue that they try to bury emotion. And I think that's what she's sort of keyed into in a brilliant way, which is that the Jedi really do just bury emotion. And I think they're just a walking, they're walking irony, essentially, because there are masters and there are apprentices, right? They take on Padawans. They have emotional connections. It's just super ironic. And then
personal bonds.
Qui-Gon Jinn dies. Obi-Wan immediately unlocks a sort of dark side part of him.
Yep.
This is the truth of what the Jedi are, essentially, is that they just bury their emotions when it's so clearly there. And just like you said, Senator Rancourt sort of alludes to that, and I think that's brilliant. So the Jedi are definitely shown in a wonderful light in the show, but I think there's multiple corruptions happening in the show, which is so interesting. I think the whole Soul guilt, and shame throughout the season is pretty powerful in terms of a corruption and a fallibility of the Jedi, and obviously Torbin's, sort of knee jerk, anxiety and all that sort of stuff. All just the mistakes were made, sort of situation is a corruption. And the whole infiltration, like a lot of character decisions in the show felt a little baffling to me in terms of like the infiltration of the fortress and things like that. I just wish, I almost wish just the circumstances were different there in terms of how they just came upon the twins. Final note is that I think it's also just really, really cool to sort of question the Jedi and question your heroes. And that line from Rancourt is, when you're praising your heroes, you're not confronting what's in front of you. It's such a brilliant line because I think it's just important to question these Jedi as well. And scrutiny of the Jedi is important. But I do worry that too much scrutiny might take away from I think earnest stories that are to unfold in the future. Like if we're to go back and do the Jedi Sith Wars, or we're to go back and do lots of sort of earnest mythic storytelling, I think we're going to immediately scrutinize the Jedi, and then you almost won't be able to use them as broadly heroic to start anything.
We do need a clear and virtuous Jedi at some point. Like we need that story at some point, right? As just these clean shining knights of
right.
virtue.
Yeah, eventually you're gonna have to go back and do that.
Yeah, because I'm with you. I think part of what I like about this show is that like I agree with you. Like Soul and the rest messed up, but I don't think they messed up that badly. To be honest, when I watch episode 7, like they really messed up. But like I think their reaction to their mistake, because of the fact that they're Jedi, shows how moral they are. Like one took a bear's vow. One, because he scratched. Because if you read, have you read the whole thing about like the fact that Kelnaka scratched? I can never remember the Padawan's name. Help me.
Corbin.
Corbin.
Said it, yeah.
Corbin's face. Like, do you know that whole thing? Did you read that on the line? Did you see that whole thing?
No.
So Wookiees, if they scratch people, if they use their claws on someone, they self-banish themselves. It's a huge ethical, moral issue. It's from the Old Republic, the Knights of the Old Republic, which seems to be what's suggesting is why Kelnaka kind of just put himself away. And Dara, who's possibly like the cleanest of the bunch, still just went out to the way far reaches, right? And you have Soul, who's still within it, but eating himself full of guilt constantly, right? So my point is just like, yes, they messed up. It was bad. But boy, was their kind of reaction to their mess up a bit of an overreaction.
What if I made the argument the Senator Raincourt line could have not only been foreshadowing Anakin Skywalker, but also hinting at Vernestrah Rowe? And maybe there's a twofold corruption here, right? Maybe it's Soul's obviously his shame and guilt, but then maybe Vernestrah and this Chimere thing, maybe this is another cover-up of some sort. Maybe Vernestrah is actually keeping the lid on a lot of this dark side stuff, and so all of this Sith dark side information actually just travels with one Jedi in Vernestrah Rowe versus
100%.
Yeah, I think you're right. To protect to protect everyone, right? Like that knowledge would destabilize possibly the galaxy if they knew how strong the dark side was and what was out there. But I just one thing I want to finish up my thought for a second here is that like because it wasn't clear and I realized what I was trying to say is that like their overreaction to what happened demonstrates how moral and good the Jedi are, right? Because if we look at real world equivalents of this, which I don't want to get super political, but we've talked about it a million times with these episodes, is that if people in positions of power made mistakes that led to the death of someone and reacted the way Jedi did in this show, we'd probably have a lot better society, and a lot of less of these interactions happening, right? So like my whole thing is it's like that kind of shows the clarity of the Jedi through how they react to their mistakes, or the moralistic center of the Jedi with how they react to their mistakes. That's just my thought. So
I have a point and a question to that. I agree, Adam. First of all, yes, you're very true. That's a real world application to that, and that was the way things were when I was growing up. Back when I was a boy, get off my lawn. But yeah, I mean, I walked away from this being like, there are two bad actors here. And I mean, obviously Soul, I mean, justifiably Soul became obsessed, and maybe he thought he definitely thought for the right reasons. He's like, I have to save them. This is like a very special thing, whatever. But I mean,
prove there's a virgin.
Vernestrah is just, I mean, she may have not known about the original sin, but that sin of Soul has now passed on to Vernestrah, and we find out she has some serious skeletons in her closet. And yeah, I mean, I think those are our two bad actors, and it's like, it stinks for someone who's loving young Vernestrah and like all of her promise to see, well, I mean, hey, we all make mistakes, and I think that's kind of the I don't know, moral of this story. Even the best of us have bad days and make, mistakes because we're human. But no, Vernestrah for sure. It's like now she's like throwing bad money at good. She's like doubling up on this thing, and I mean, we'll see how they deal with it internally with the council.
I think that's what I'm looking for in a season 2 is that battle of the wits sort of Vernestrah point of view, because a lot of the time when Chimere and Soul are fighting, Soul's like, don't listen to him, and like, how can you do that? And just sort of like asking vague questions where I almost want to see Vernestrah sort of exchange of philosophy with a chimera or a Plagueis. I'm looking for that sort of dialogue as a Star Wars fan.
That's how it escalates.
Exchange between sages.
Yeah.
Which I think we'll see, right? Because in the first major lightsaber duel between Soul and Chimera is like spouting, and it was episode 3 or 4. He's just spouting dark side philosophy during the entire lightsaber duel, right? Yes. So like, I think he's just bored. Like he's already used Soul. So I think once he gets to the duel with Vernestrah, that will be they'll be dueling philosophies, which I love.
Another tier.
Yeah, and the Jedi are over there like, what are you?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
What is even are you?
And it'll be another step up. That's why, I mean, it's not just setting it up for season 2. It's setting up for an amazing season 2. Like, I think a really high stakes season 2. It's like Vernestrah is Soul on crack. I mean, it's almost a little too parallel for me, where it's like they could really tell the same story again in a lot of ways. But like on another tier, and then, but I mean, Vernestrah is essentially now in the same position Soul was at the beginning of the series. I don't know, trying to, being forced to face the her sins of the past.
We also have Plagueis, right? As part of this, the dark side dynamic, which is Chimera could get taken out immediately, by Plagueis or something truly, subversive right away, right? Like something crazy could happen, and then you could sort of get like, let me tell you the tragedy of my life. Plagueis the Wise is coming in.
Yeah.
Oh man, but yeah, that's the other one too. Is I think now we can just have a dark side story between Chimera and Osha, because we have their backstory now. It's like you can tell it without being too heavy-handed,
So can I just say one thing? Like this might be about the last thing I have to say about this show and this everything is, with looking at where things are going, does this show end with some passage of time and a young Palpatine?
Yeah, if it is successful, yes.
Like a Nubian Palpatine? How old?
Yeah, like Nubian.
Yeah,
like in the Senate yet, or just a little, like a little tyke that's just being
sort of
terrible.
Lucino Palpatine, but recanonized and new details, new elements.
Before public service, or during public service?
Like Naboo, like Plagueis goes to Naboo,
like a kid setting Tuca Cat's tails on fire.
Finds Palpatine or something, like some cool pivotal information that sort of recanonizes Palpatine in a cool
young
way.
Matt Smith Palpatine.
Because here's the thing, here's what they set up deftly in season 1. Chimera's human or humanoid.
Yep,
correct.
As far as we know, yes.
And he looks really healthy and pretty fit for however, he looks like he's in his 30s. He said he's been around for a very, very long time. He uses that terminology, right? Yeah. So you now have, very easily, you could have someone like Osha, if she learns whatever Chimera learns, not aging very much, right? So you could have her, that actor, still look like she does and jump forward 75 years and be a very young Palpatine. Less than 75 years, but right, like you could absolutely do that. I love the idea of time jumps in the show, by the way, Grant. Like, let's just
Yeah.
I just think that would be, now that it's moving to multiple seasons, I think to me the logical, like most incredible sort of ending of all of this is to find the Acolyte that eventually shifts the galaxy into a first galactic empire. You know what I mean? Like,
I love
isn't that the Acolyte we're almost meant to eventually uncover? Or something?
Yes. Yeah. I think they could slow play it. I do hold a soft spot.
Oh, total slow burn.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they could get there like season 4 or 5. Like maybe at some point.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'm just really looking forward to a couple of dark side users skulking around caves through the galaxy, trying to figure their thing out. Like, right? Like, dark side users only live in caves, first of all.
Yeah, it could even be a Filoni-esque sort of time jump, like ending that sort of like you see some kid with Plagueis or something, and it's like that's all you get. You know what I mean? Like just very Easter eggy. But like I almost don't need Palpatine in the show at all. It's almost like
you could end it
with him creeping around a corner.
Apprentice monologue.
What if it was just like, what if it was a mirror to the end of episode 1, which is like, I'll be watching your career,
with
right?
great interest,
with great interest, right? Where she runs into
to Palpatine. Yeah,
right, and that's the end, and that's credits, and then it's the end of the series, right? Because then you've done a complete through line between from Darth Plagueis the Wise to Palpatine.
Have I ever told you?
Yeah. Have I ever told you? Yeah, that would be amazing.
Memes. Yeah. Imagine the memes tomorrow.
Here's the thing. Here's what I'm a little cautious about. We talked a bit about this before, but like I want to connect this to another franchise that often doesn't go together, though I sometimes bring up, which is another love. I love Star Trek. Star Wars always has my heart. I watch all of Star Trek as well. Star Trek is about a utopia, about a organization, the Starfleet, that has gone past all of the things that we're dealing with now.
They're so post-racist,
and exactly post everything, post racism, post sexism, most importantly, post scarcity, which is the key to utopia. And it did that through all of the original series and all of Next Generation pretty well. Roddenberry, who had a lot of failings as a human being, one of the things he said, though, is I never want conflict between the main characters. The conflicts have to come from outside of the characters. And you get, this is, I'm slow playing, so I'll get to it in a second. Then you get to Deep Space Nine, which is the second spinoff, which is an amazing show. But then they introduced the idea of Section 31. And Section 31 is a covert operations part of Starfleet. And these are the people doing experimentations and doing those evil things. And that's kind of when I start bouncing off of Star Trek a little bit. Like, nope, this is supposed to be a utopia. This is lazy. Now you have evil doers inside of this, and there's all these storylines of like, well, you got warp drive because we were able to do these horrible things. And then you're like, well, everything's tainted and everything sucks. Right. And humans suck. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous that we're going somewhere close with the Jedi in this show with what Vernestrah's doing, right? Like I don't mind her doing it. I just don't want like a group of like secret operative Jedis who are willing to do the dark things and hide things and lie in order to greater good. That makes me a little nervous. We'll see. I trust Leslie to do this in a deft way because I don't hate how we've got so far. But anyway, that's a fear I have.
That was my question I wanted to ask was, do you feel like we escaped this season without besmirching the Jedi's good name? Do you think that there's still like, I mean, we know mistakes were made, but like...
But the Jedi are going to be besmirched forever in narrative, Star Wars narrative, because it's interesting.
Yeah. But
that's interesting, right? When Jedi are fallible, right? It's not interesting when Jedi are just do-gooders.
I think it's interesting when they're do-gooders.
I will tell you that we have, not to again bring up Star Trek, but there's 10 seasons of storytelling that shows us that it is quite interesting when you don't have your main characters be at all dark. Just saying, like, you can do that. There are things you can do to make them interesting, to make them have to. Anyway. Sorry.
I don't know. Yeah. We'll see if we get there.
I don't think
TBD.
There's not a lot of content that can really besmirch the Jedi, anyways, because I think that Prime Jedi film is probably going to be the testament of the Jedi and what it means to be a Jedi, right? And so it's that film, I think, is going to be the hardest one to make it, given that, like, I imagine the person who kind of is the first Jedi, I imagine that person probably witnessed some trauma, right, or something, and then is like, "This is the way," sort of situation.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I don't think the Jedi were ever just truly light side, individuals. I think it's cause and effect, right? Like their rules and dogma definitely come from something, right? And so James Mangold really is going to sort of define what it is to be a Jedi.
He's got a real toughie on his hands.
All this other stuff is just
wild.
That's a real pickle he's in.
Yeah. I guess my thought is like Star Wars always, not always, but at its core is a redemption story, right? Like there's always redemption. And what I think about earlier is like, I don't want to see the redemption of Osha. I don't want to see that. I want to see the corruption of Osha, right? I want that to be there. Maybe this is the redemption of Vernestrah, right? Maybe that's the story we're telling. is that she learns this was a huge mistake to keep this secret. Maybe that's what she gets through the counseling of Yoda, right? Like there's a different way to do this. I don't know. Yeah. And then you get your cake and eat it too, because Vernestrah ends up being on the light side at the end. But we'll see.
I mean, she clearly raises her lightsaber to her Padawan. I mean,
but I need context here, people.
Yeah,
like, I don't think that's bad. Like, what if he was like, I don't know, about to pull a Anakin and about to slaughter a ton of younglings? Then,
but they were puppies, not
kid.
younglings, actually puppies.
Yeah, exactly. Then get out that light whip
exactly.
and start whipping away, right? Like, I need the context.
Isn't there a fun opportunity to... Sadly, I mean, I don't want this for Vernestrah, but it's almost like, isn't there a fun opportunity to have a Plagueis Vernestrah confrontation, essentially? And sort of,
I was hoping
know
you'd get
she's
that
not
today.
around in the prequels, therefore, she has to have fallen or died before those films, and we know Plagueis was killed in Palpatine's lifetime. Could there be a situation where Plagueis v Vernestrah, and sort of Plagueis sadly maybe kills Vernestrah, and then that secret is kept, essentially? And sort of a lot of the red coat stuff we saw in this season is sort of a microcosm of
so
maybe
many red shirts
throughout, which is sort of Jedi that know pivotal information, like that could change the course of history, basically, are taken out, essentially.
Because she's literally the only one left, right, with the pivotal information. And so that would be an interesting way to do that. Yeah. And then keep the timeline clean. Yeah.
I mean, she's got to die sometime.
That's sad. I like the redemption arc that you're talking about, Adam, but I just...
Well,
I mean,
you
I want to see the whip go crazy, and I really want big hero moments for Vernestrah, where there's a lot of cover-up right now that's happening with her, where the redemption for me is a redemption of, honesty, and
and
that for her.
Exactly. And I don't mean redemption in like falling to the dark side, coming back, but in terms of like coming back to the true light, right? This idea of like the importance of truth and honesty, and
It depends, man. I mean, she's gonna face off with Chimera again. Like that has to happen.
And can I just say,
oh, totally.
But it's like
my one last thing is, I think in the Lucino books we learn that Plagueis gets gravely injured, right?
Yeah,
and gets like sort of a
breather
mask and a sort of rebreather, right?
Yeah, there's like an assassination attempt.
So why not just have canonize that with Vernestrah's whip just cuts him up?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
I think it was a mob like hit gone wrong, and then there was a bunch of people, and he was actually like shot to death. But like
he was like, wasn't there like, but also wasn't there like a like?
I think
he was up in like it was a trap.
It wasn't a venomous confrontation.
It was a trap, and he got like
have a rogue.
He got his like jaw cut off.
Something else.
No, it was it was. I thought it was like he went into like a warehouse that he owned, and it was a trap, and a million people like shot him up.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was like the people he hired that turned on him or something.
Yeah.
But I mean, that would make sense. I mean,
because that way it's like she's redeems herself, gets to drop some philosophy nuggets on the Darksiders to their face,
right? Mess him up,
redeems the Jedi in the eyes of a lot of fans who want to see those, like you're saying, Ben, like you want to see the do-gooder Jedi, the heroic Jedi, and you want to see her really be heroic, because she hasn't been in this season.
I know, and she's so heroic in the High Republic novels.
And she's so heroic,
because she's just been behind a desk this entire time, right? Like now that she's out in the field, Also, I know they keep making comments about it because it connects to the High Republic books, but like
hyperspace,
the hyperspace, you gotta do something with that with season 2, right? Like you gotta, like come on, you can't.
It's just this like running joke for High Republic readers. And then, like, no one else knows what they're talking about. She's like, it's not my stomach, it's my head.
Yeah.
And it's like she's tired of hearing it. And it's just like, we know what they're talking about. But, I don't know.
I do wish the show was a little slower. Like, the pace. Like, I almost wish Soul had a little bit, some quiet moments. And I almost want, like, Vernestrah flashbacks to, like, High Republic events. But, like, you hear it, it's all audio, and then, like, possibly a close-up, extreme close-ups of her eye, like maybe flashes, like just those moments were huge in the books, right? Like she lived through some crazy stuff.
She has a million like super like Jedi powers.
Yeah, and it'd be good to contextualize why she might be so focused on the impact, the fear of knowing that there are Sith could have on the galaxy, right? Because she lived through a time where the fear of the Nihil, like, almost broke apart the galaxy, right?
And so that's the heaviest stuff ever, right? Like the attack on the Fair, on Valo, like Starlight Beacon, the Great Hyperspace Disaster. Like these events are essentially like the Star Killer destruction of Hazian Prime. They're like major galactic events, essentially.
Yeah, the 9/11s.
Everyone witnessed it.
Yeah, and she's gone through it. I mean, I think this is purely Sith. I think, this story is about the return of Sith to the public forum and the return of the Sith, like really like as being a weight on the galaxy that is undeniable for the Jedi. They're like, all right, something's wrong now. It's tilting.
I think I needed 10% more meditation in this show, or just
so you want
like
more
loud, like the dark side clouds everything moments for Vernestrah, where it's like she's channeling out all the screams she's heard from like the countless things I just listed, and like trying to understand what's out there because she's so focused on the scales, right, that are tipping. The balance that's tipping. But instead, she's just, like you said, Adam, she's behind a desk, just doing a lot of bureaucratic stuff. And it's perfect for showing that that's sort of what's clouding the Jedi. But you almost want that other half where it's like they're soul searching, they're seeking, they're mentally or.
Yeah, and you needed that character. You needed someone. You needed the angry lieutenant behind the desk in a cop drama, right? Like you needed that person like in the show, and it makes sense that they would choose a character that had gravitas and someone that, deep fans would connect with, but also other ones would have, like, they did a good job of selling that, but it is also at the same time, like, exactly, I want to see her in the field. Like, we got a millisecond. I think it's literally a millisecond of light whip. I'm like, come on. Yeah. Like, what are we doing?
She's like, oh, yeah, you'll see it. Just don't blink.
Yeah. Again, I just want to say that we saw Darth Plagueis tonight, which is amazing because it also, like, it's also a great way of, like, confirming, like, they hadn't at this point at all talked about whether Chimera is a Sith or Sith connected or not, right? He says it like in season whatever or episode whatever, some may call me that, right? Some might refer to me as that. So it's very like, I was sitting there until this episode going, are they just going to like pussyfoot around whether or not he's actually a Sith, like, or connected to the Sith? But this episode, at least by showing Plagueis, says he may not be a Sith, but the Sith are here. The Sith are in play. They know what's going on currently. And I'm like all in. Yeah. Yeah.
Chimera seemed afraid of the helmet to some extent in this episode.
Yes. Thank you. That's a good point. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. He was trying to save her from something. Like, right?
Yeah.
That was compelling.
Well, he was trying to save himself. Like, she had tapped into like that dark magic that her mother used, and he was getting choked out.
Oh, that's what was happening. Okay, because his eyes turned black, and that's okay.
She put her in that sort of like fugue state, and he was like, I gotta get out of this. But yeah, I mean, why did that happen? Will May ever wear the mask again? I mean, Osha ever wear the mask again? Is the mask still in play? He wasn't wearing it much through this until he saw Vernestrah.
And he was wearing it before, then took it off.
I love that the mask has a purpose. Like it has functionality.
Yes, right. Yeah. As opposed to just like, because it is weird, like Kylo.
Yeah.
Whatever is like his reason is mask, and like you're absolutely right. Chimera's like it hides his thoughts from the Jedi, which is brilliant. Yeah. Bit of like writerly whatever, which explains why this extremely attractive man is wearing a mask. We wouldn't need to.
And fantastic actor. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It begs the question: does Plagueis have something to do with that mask as well? Though? Like it almost felt like that felt like a power that was even beyond Chimera when the kind of look of fear. Portrayed there, but just Plagueis being in the cave, like incredible. We saw Plagueis on a streaming
wild. Not expecting it as much as we talked about the possibility. No, you were. As much as we were talking about it, I never bought into that being a possibility.
You were such a cheerer for the bigger fish theory.
Well, you seem so happy about it. I was
Oh, thanks, man.
Props. And not in like I didn't sit there going, never gonna happen. Like I didn't feel that way, but I just thought
pie in the sky.
I thought, yep.
Yeah.
No. I was just like, that's totally cool. They could totally. I just don't think they're gonna do it. Like that's all. Like, do you know what I mean? Like I just didn't really think they were gonna do it. So I totally not discredit. I had discredited it in my mind. I'm just like, yep, not gonna. And then when the second happened, I'm like, oh, I was so happy for. I mean, I was excited, but so happy for you.
I'm just happy that I was happy about it because as much as we talked about it, it still took me by surprise, and I was like, oh,
yeah, right. Yeah.
Like I wasn't like I knew that was gonna happen. Oh, of course, now was when that. No, that wasn't what happened at all. Just pure joy, pure elation.
Incredible.
Amazing guys. I think next week we're going to stay with a High Republic theme, right? We're going to talk about Temptation of the Force, steamy Star Wars novel, but very tastefully done, and actually has a lot of really important High Republic facts that happened during that book. I've already read it, and I can't wait to talk about it. It's a really good book. Yeah. We'll talk about that next week, and I'm sure we'll probably have more Acolyte talk. That's the way it goes. It's like Acolyte will then weave its way into our next few pods as we review and sort of meditate and see what the response is online from folks.
Yeah, and this is it until Skeleton Crew. So I mean, we got other stuff to talk about, but like this is going to be the thing we're going to be reflecting on probably the most until Skeleton Crew comes out. Yeah. Christmas.
I think Star Wars Celebration news is starting to trickle out.
But no celebration this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Whichever upcoming one there is, though, I think stuff is
D23 maybe or Comic-Con because like they're doing that weird thing. It's 2025 in Japan is the next.
I think that's what.
Yeah, they'll have stuff for sure. Yeah, in one of those. I'm guessing Comic-Con is Comic-Con. When is Comic-Con?
I don't know.
Keep talking.
Yeah.
There'll
be something. I mean, they're going to leak some stuff. We haven't heard much in a while, and then it's just, how it works. We're like, oh, Lucasfilm's been oddly quiet, and then the next week it's like, a 10,000-pound Wookiee drops on our head.
Yep.
And we're like, oh, all right. Yeah. Then they're like, oh, there's 7 new shows.
There'll probably be a cool postseason interview with Leslie that we'll probably love to sort of digest and talk about.
There are a lot of really last week we talked a lot about an article in Nerdist actually did with Leslie Headland in it, and she goes deep into into that episode, into her overall thoughts. We didn't really talk about that article today, but actually poor Adam was working, and Adam gave me the count. It was 78 text messages that Grant and I sent to each other.
I muted after 20 something. Yeah, I muted after 20 seconds. I can't. Because literally, it kept popping up on my phone while I was trying to work. I'm like, I gotta mute this sucker.
Text 58 or 59 was me going, oh man, I hope Adam muted this thread.
That's hilarious. And it was so many. I have to be honest. It's so many. I'm like, I can't. I'm not gonna go back and read this. So I'm like, I hope it was interesting. I'm sure it was. I don't know what got them started, but yeah.
I do feel like we hash out a lot of stuff on there that's therapeutic for me. I don't know how other people feel.
That's what it's about.
For me, it's like
it's
it saves me a lot of.
No, it's good. It's good to be able to kind of go hard on that stuff a little bit. Comic-Con is next week, or 9 days from now. So I'm guessing that's what it is because Disney is Disney, and they have cleared the Marvel deck at this point, right? Deadpool has its trailer, Captain America has its trailer, so Agatha has its trailer. So the only thing that doesn't have a trailer in the Disney universe right now is Skeleton Crew.
Yeah.
So
maybe Disney is leaving instead of cannibalizing, it's leaving everything open for Deadpool to sort of reign supreme this summer.
Maybe.
I'm excited for it. I just don't think
I'll
go see it.
I don't know. I wonder what the turnout will be for Deadpool.
I think middling.
It's interesting. It's R, right? But it is the highest grossing R film of all time. It's Deadpool 1. So we'll see. I know people love Deadpool. Here's the thing.
They've been promoting it everywhere for months.
I think it's going to be huge, and I think it will do nothing for from our MCU.
Yeah.
I think it will not carry over to anything past the fact that it's Deadpool.
They're fun movies and they're jokes. Yeah. It's just
and now it has Wolverine.
I think FF is going to be the reboot, right? Like the kind of
they
like
gotta reboot it with that. They just
Stark
gotta just have an incursion happen like minute 1 and reboot it. Everything blows up. Big bang happens again. Do the thing they do in Tree of Life, where they go through the entire dinosaurs evolving and dying off, and just be like the Marvel universe has started anew. Anyway,
I love it. Green light.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go watch Tree of Life. Tonight's the night. I'm gonna just watch that. Okay. No, I'm gonna watch it again some other night.
What's that thing you Jedi say to each other? May the Force be with you.
That was a great. I forgot about that. That was so good. Saw it coming a mile away, but I'm like, I love this.
Don't you wish you could have delivered that in a Star Wars movie? Oh my god, show.
Yeah,
incredible,
amazing, awesome, so fun, guys. What an amazing series. You know what? Actually, maybe next week we do a medal ceremony for Acolyte. Once we've had some time.
There you go. That'd be fun
to enjoy it. We should go do a proper medal.
Well, there will be season 2 confirmed, sort of news.
I'm hoping for Ahsoka season 2 confirmed news.
I mean, it is confirmed.
The episode is essentially confirmed as season 2.
Filoni has confirmed it, and Filoni
did. He was like, "There will be a season 2."
Yes, and drew the artwork and said Ahsoka season 2 coming. I thought it was still
sort of like he was hedging, like, well, if there is one. No, he's confirmed it. Did I just forget about this?
I'm pretty sure.
I do remember some concept art, but I don't know. I think maybe we get some more about Ahsoka. I'm just gonna say that. Maybe I'm wildly wrong. That's how this works, right?
It's also supposed to be filming later this year. Like it is. It is like confirmed. It's confirmed and like about to start. And like I think he was writing on the scripts. I think he was working on the scripts when he said that. But like I just have a feeling like Filoni is now so deep in the machine that if he says it's happening, because he'd be like fired. So
he's the guy.
But I don't know.
Yeah,
we shall see.
If anyone says
like
it, it's confirmed. Really, yeah. That you can't, like, everyone's cagey about it. If an actor was like, "Oh, it's happening," then it's probably happening.
I think that's more confirmed than like Mandalorian season 4.
Maybe I missed it somehow, or I selectively
so.
Forgot. I just didn't really think it was. Yeah. All right. Maybe I'm misremembering.
I don't know. I could be wrong too. I don't know. Yeah. It's been so many things.
It'd be cool to talk Star Wars Underworld, like just do maybe an Underworld draft or get into sort of Outlaws content before that comes out as well. Sort of talk about maybe the factions.
Yeah, that's the next big thing. That's August 30th. We can start playing Outlaws, which is going to be fun.
That's exciting. That's very exciting.
Yeah, I can't wait.
That game looks amazing. I just want to say that right now. Like that game looks incredible.
Lucasfilm confirmed in January 9th that Ahsoka season 2 is in development.
Okay. Well, there we go. And the like best part is we probably covered it, and I spoke at length about it.
I think we did because
I remember back in
go ahead.
Way back when we first started potting, we talked about Ahsoka being like the perfect character for a game, essentially. Like
we did, 100%.
We talked about this many a time, and it's funny that Outlaws is coming out, and then Ahsoka is a huge project right now, and it's like the Ahsoka game could be incredible.
I was Googling when you were talking. When's the drop? What's the drop date for Outlaws?
August 30th. I think that's the pre-drop date.
August 30th. Okay.
If you got the deluxe edition, which I did.
I did. I did. All right. That's all right. It's let's see. Kids back in school. First week of my teaching, which is actually a light week, so I can
Here we go.
Jump in. That's great. Just I was hoping it's not coming out like early August because that's not going to work for me.
Yeah. No.
So that's good.
Grant and I are going to be in work. Hell at that point, but
I might get further along than you guys. That's gonna
because I feel like I'm really going to be exploring every corner in this game.
We'll see.
It's going to be
open world's a whole different story than linear. You know, it's like linear. I'm pushing through to see environment art. I'm pushing through to see characters, and then open world's like
open world. I do all side quests first.
Yeah.
So. That's going to be hard for when we're trying to cover this. Be like, I still haven't actually done any of the actual narrative story. I've done all the side quests.
Yeah, I have no game plan. I'm I usually just lean white hat the first time and then kind of lose interest like going through it another time as another hat. But this one there's so many ways you can go. I'm just going to follow my heart. But I mean, there's so many ways you can play it. I don't know. It's going to be pretty cool.
I can't wait.
Can't wait.
All right. We go on and on and on. Star Wars exists
not us.
And perseveres. This was a blast. Thank you very, very much for listening to us. We greatly appreciate it. We will talk to you again next week on Cantina Chronicles.